What's going on, y'all? It's J Small Reviews back at it again with another video. As you guys can see, this is going to be my COTY 2022 recap. For those of you that watch, by the way, change of scenery. I'm in me and my girl's room, you know what I'm saying? She's designed it all up. It's got all the vibey shit in the background. For my early viewers, you might have seen that. But back to the topic at hand. This is my COTY 2022 recap. And for those of you that saw, I did have the honor of being on the Champion of the Year panel this year. Kept it down low for a while, you know what I'm saying, but was so excited, so appreciative to be on there. I've said it a few other places, but it's been, I've loved battle rap a long time, ever since I was a pretty young teenager. So to get up here, young 20s, be a part of the panel that gives out the greatest individual award. Just want to say once again, a Black, thank you so much for the opportunity, man. And I hope that you guys enjoyed some of my points up there. I really don't like being long-winded. That's kind of the thing that I always try to avoid. So I make pretty quick points when I do get in there. I know some people were like, oh, you were quiet, but there's just times that I don't feel the need to get into the craziest debate. Sometimes it's two extremes arguing and you just got to let them hash it out. But I try to be very careful with my votes and very, careful and fair with my points. At the end of the day, I understand that it was an extremely close race, especially towards the top, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So there's going to be totally a bunch of different opinions on it, and I completely understand that from you guys. There was about 5 to 6 different viable options for the winner at that, so of course it's going to be largely controversial. Also, all the jokes, the Harry Potter, the Mr. Crocker, the Screech Man, a lot of it is hilarious. I'm never going to be mad at that. Jokes are part of this culture, so always joke away. But I hope that you guys saw that there was work, and I try to keep my integrity. You know what I'm saying? I think the panel as a whole, everybody up there, I have so much respect for. Shout out to Tone, Polo, Bad Money, Tito, M. Lang, Jay Black, shout out Anwar for moderator, France, obviously. Let's talk battle rap. That's the boss. Shout out to him, as well as Mark. So shout out to everybody that was a part of the panel. And at the end of the day, we just love battle rap like everyone else, and just trying to give that credit and just give this little spectacle where we can talk about the full year for 8 hours. So shout out to everybody on there. But this video is mainly going to be about some of the bigger hot takes that I've seen on it, and just explaining some of my reasoning for some of the bigger points that I had, or some of the more key points. Shouldn't be the longest video, you know what I'm saying, but I know that there's some key things people want to talk about post COTY, and we'll just hone into them, and I'll give you my perspective, as someone that was on the panel. But without further ado, let's get right into breaking down the list. So, just quickly going over, we're obviously, as we get towards the top, we're going to talk more in depth about the thought process behind that. But just to go over 11 to 20, obviously, you have Kid Chaos at 20, someone who I had higher on my list to begin with. I had actually at 11 when I started, which is really, really crazy when you think it out. Definitely something that I over-jumped on. I really did value his consistency and material, but he didn't necessarily fill in strength of schedule, impact slots. So once we got there, I saw some of the counter-arguments, some people that didn't have him on the list. I think I definitely wanted him on the list. It was something that I was passionate about, but I did understand him dropping, him at the 20 spot. Still want to shout him out for that. Clips at 19, obviously dominant stage performances, as well as Snake Eyes at 18 for some of the impact that he's had. Neither of those gentlemen originally made my 20, but I definitely went in knowing that there would be arguments for them. Clips was dominant 2-0 to start with a debatable versus Cal. Personally, had him losing versus Cal, but when all the metrics have it tied, as well as many people edging Clips, you got to acknowledge it as debatable, even if you feel differently. And as for Snake Eyes, I did feel like the plethora of clear losses originally would keep him off the list. There is no denying the impact that he had. His battle with Twerk doing 700K, and many people having it as a great look for him. I've been very vocal on this channel. So a lot of battles I had Snake Eyes getting 3-0'd in, but there was clear improvements in his game, and there was going to be an argument for him on that bottom half section of the list. So shout out to him. Sheed Happens, who won LTBR's Most Improved Battler. Shout out to Sheed, I'm saying? I'm glad that we can get him that award, because he did show out and improve and take that next step, I thought, in 2022. As well as Calico. A lot of people I heard thought Calico got snubbed, taken too far down. I did have Cal a couple spots up originally. I thought that Calico did have a good year. I had him 3-2 on the year. I had him beating Clips. He clearly beat Chess, as well as edging the Fonz battle, although it is a one-rounder, so the points, could be, depending on how you want to count it, but it was a very, very good battle. It was a very good one-rounder, so it's a little bit more than the regular one-rounder, still a one-rounder at that. And I think that plus the DNA and easy losses just take him back. If you're going to have 4 or 5 battles, he had the schedule that you need for it, but you need to damn near be perfect with the results. Maybe with just, because the easy loss is a fairly good loss, you know what I mean? So, yeah, if you're going to have that, you just can't have that nasty DNA loss, even though it's in a light work. Geechee at 15, very, kind of a hot take when we started the panel. I know me as well as Tito had Geechee at 20. I just thought he had a ton of clear losses. Now, was he in big spots with big impact? Of course. Hollow, Diz, Mook. But I thought he was lackluster, you know what I'm saying, in the Mook battle. I personally had him beating Hollow. I had him edging Hollow in the first and beating Hollow in the third clear. But it's not just up to me, man. When you look at these metrics, I was there in the building to watch. When you walk out of the building, Hollow won clear to the people in the building for the most part by a large majority. He's winning uniformly on the voting metrics by a pretty large margin. So even though I have Geechee winning that battle, you have to compromise, you know what I'm saying, somewhat. So people say, oh, stand on your take, you have Geechee winning. Yes, but I have to acknowledge the community and how the community votes, because that's a big part of how we decide debatable and clear and things of that nature. So it's understandable him at 15 with the schedule he had. Schedule and impact is very important to some people. And then naturally that'll lead to moments and things of that nature. But I thought he took a step back in performance and material. So, wasn't mad at him climbing up, but originally I did start out with him at the placeholder spot. From there, you get into the top half of the back half of the list, where you get DNA at 14. Pretty solid year. He was always going to finish somewhere in that 14 to 16 region. And then plus with one of his clear, like I had Cal over him, but with this clear win over Cal, you can see the way things like this could be argued. Shout out to the ladies, Miss Hustle and Jazz making it. New Jersey twerking that 12 spot between them. But shout out to Hustle at 13. Very, very good year. High quality, debatable with Couture and Vixen, both, very high ranking members in the female top tier community, as well as a good chunk of light work. The Sheed battle, has a stain on it due to the rehearsal, but to get a 3-0 on JC, albeit not in the best battle, but still a top 10 COTY contender and win pretty much every round clear, says a lot about Miss Hustle's year. Twerk, who shocked a lot of people, he is a criteria cheat code. He's going to have impact in moments when he battles. Naturally, he produces a lot of that, and then as long as he battles well with material and performance, that's 4 of 6 categories. Strength of schedule, definitely weaker this year. Lou Castro, who was a layup for most of 2022. We got to be fair, and not to say that Lou is a layup talent. He is better than that, but that is the way that he performed in 2022. And then Snake Eyes, real sick, one of the battles of the year. My second favorite, in my opinion, the second best battle of 2022. So his year was a little underrated. Even his O-Red material was great. So I think due to the Brandon choke, people didn't see it coming. He didn't even make the second COTY checklist survey, but I thought he was great, you know what I'm saying? And he, with that criteria, he could probably climb a little higher than he's supposed to. Probably could have made the top 10 if we kept going just criteria, but you got to cap off eventually, and I still think 12 is a respectable spot. And Jazz at 11, and famously what I've said, I thought Jazz had a bit of a one-battle case. I think beating Shice Raw and Embody, it's solid. It is, Shice Raw. I think her and Geechee, as I said on the panel, is not the best battle. Not either of their best material. For me, personally, not a big fan of that. Technically debatable, but she did win on the Kings versus Queens vote, which if you guys watch Kings versus Queens, the whole night they're like, Kings are up this, Queens are up this, it's 2-2, it's 2-1 Queens. So it's kind of a pseudo-judged vote. I do kind of recognize it as a Jazz victory, but not in the best battle. The big thing is, though, the Vixen battle. One performance of the year, tied with Nitty's performance versus A-Ward. So if you're going to have really a case that's based around one battle, have it be the performance of the year. The 2-on-2s mix in there, probably match out with Hustle's light work, depending on how you judge that. I think the WOTY panel will have a much different time than us judging it. So just because Jazz is 11 does not mean that she automatically won WOTY. Definitely tune into the WOTY panel and see how they debate that, because how they measure light work to 2-on-2s, it's going to be worth talking about. But great for her, fringe top 10, and just goes to show how really dominant and amazing Jazz the rapper is as a talent, as well as Miss Hustle, and that they can take any top-tier man or woman on any day and be extremely competitive. And that gets me into the bottom half of the top 10, where quickly I'll talk about Fonz and A-Ward. A-Ward at 10, Fonz at 9. Went back and forth with that debate for a while. I think Ward is still just one of the best in the world. I think people are sour on him too because he just lost so clearly to Big K. But that is 2023. I think a lot of people are looking at that and wanting to apply it here. And A-Ward last year had a good year. He's part of Battle of the Year with Rum Nitty, which officially won it. Shout out to them. Clean and Reed are solid wins. Past that, for the first time, I think his strength of schedule might actually be a little lower as advertised. No, previous years he's gotten overhated, like I said on the panel. People just hyper-focus on the one-rounders and stuff and not the actual names he's battled. Little thinner this year, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that even though it was battle of the year, I did personally have him losing to Nitty, but still very deserving of a top 10 nod. He was considered one of the top 10 battle rappers in 2022, and I think that's a fully fair placement. Then at number 9, we have Fonz, as I said, one of the best punchers of the year, just a guy that I definitely thought should make it. I did personally have him at a 6-6 record, which is a little, but that's considering some one-rounders. You know, I had him losing like Magic and Cal. Battles are, you know, fairly debatable, you know what I'm saying? So, and plus they're one-rounders, but great battle with Real Sick, you know, where he had a judge victory. Prestavia, he chokes, and the chokes definitely hurt his case a little bit, had some turbulence this year, but even then, good win in that. The Rum Nitty battle really is his crowning achievement, extremely debatable battle, a battle that I personally doubted the shit out of Fonz going into it, and I got to even tell him, I doubted you big time, but you went on, you definitely proved a lot of people wrong. I think you're here to stay. I think it is top tier time in 2023 for Fonz. By the end of this year, we will for sure, no question, be calling Fonz a top tier, in my opinion. I think he started off great with Mac, and I think there's only bigger opponents in the future for him. And then you have Danny at 8. Really easy way to split that is I think that both of them have a similar amount of chokes, although Danny may have a little more. They're both punchers with similar styles, but I think Danny has higher peaks. You know what I'm saying? Clearly beating Tay-Rock is a humongous part of that. I believe he won on criteria anyways, which is what most of the list is based off of, which is what I think people get lost up in. Everyone here is criteria checked. It's not, so I'm going to refer to peaks and big wins, but this was judged much, much more detailed than that, as you guys can see. There's plenty of times that we have to go through impact, moments, material, performance, consistency, and strength of schedule. All of those facets have to be covered. So when it does get close like that, we will find little separating factors. I believe Danny straight won on criteria, but also having the win on Fonz, although in a lackluster battle, you know what I'm saying, rose him up to that 8 spot. At 7, we have JC. I think 7 is exactly where I walked in with JC at the panel. Pretty much this 7 through 10 is exactly how I had it. I had JC. I think I had Warren Fonz flip possibly, but I had JC at 7 and Danny Myers at 8. JC, amazing, amazing tournament. Gets that milestone plate and takes a tough 3-0 loss. Just simply great year up until that point with a lot of great things, but when it was time for the crowning achievement, the hardest challenge that he had, you know, he fell short in that moment. You sprinkle in the light work loss to Hustle, it just drops you from someone that really we thought was the favorite, damn near a shoo-in for the award going into the Surf battle, 2-7. Still very respectable. I believe this is JC's second or third top placement, if I'm correct. You know, it's somewhere. Hold up, just lost the list here for a second. I believe it is JC's second or third top 10 placement. So there is still kudos to that. Great accolade, but lands at number 7. This is the one that's crazy, Swamp. Swamp at 6. Now, I walked in with Swamp at number 2. I made a point about Swamp's chokes. We referred to it as 7 chokes on the panel. And for those of you, I'm not going to list it again because it's really not out of disrespect. It's just a point that I made in a heated debate where, 2 through 6 was very, very contested. Like I said, I walked in the room. Someone could have talked me into Swamp as COTY. I had Swamp as my runner-up. But when it got that close with Suge on criteria and Easy, you had to look, and that those inconsistencies and chokes have always been graded harshly. They gave O-Red all the shit in the world, although he did win it with 2. So when you got above 5, especially with how many other people are here, it's less about, oh, Swamp was bad, he choked all these times, but, Bill didn't choke. Suge choked 3 times, which he was somewhat penalized for. Easy didn't choke. You could debate Rock choked once versus Slade, and Rum Nitty didn't choke. So when you're making these separating factors, I think his peaks were incredible. I think he's made his way to top tier for sure. Judge win on Nitty. Judge win on Fonz. Judge win on Suge. In my opinion, beating Tay-Rock. But he also had lower lows than some of the other people here, and that's why even though he had those wins, he also had blemishes they didn't have, and that's really what caused the free fall. But, that is where he landed. So tough. 2 through 6 was so contested. Like I said, walked in with him as runner-up. That choking stat that was brought up did end up being what it seemed like the separating factor in a lot of close debates. And I'll say it like I said it there. I think that Swamp is still a star. I'm still a huge fan of him, even though it drops like that. It might not seem like it. I have so much respect for his game, what he's done, and I think he is, like I said to him, top tier now. That's something no one's going to be taken away from him. I believe he's going to be a star on URL for many years to come. And even without URL, I think he'd be a star. He has that Southern drawl. He has a very one-of-one, unique style, a sound that no one else has, and it can be disappointing to be that underdog, be in the race for so long, and then you end up finishing at 6th, but still a fantastic year for Swamp overall. Bill Collector at 5, ended up, at 6 originally, but when Swamp kind of had his drop, Bill was the last guy to overtake him. Can't be mad at Bill at 5. There's arguments for him being right outside of it. There's arguments for him being in it. All 3 of his battles in the COTY tournament were perfect material. I actually had him, in terms of material, I had Nitty on the best material in the year, Easy is the second best, and Bill as the third best. Was super impressed with Bill, even his in-between work, like the 1-rounder with Don Marino, the 3-rounder with Kang. The 1-rounder with Shine was a little, we will be honest there, but there was good material in there. Although I did have him very clearly losing to Nitty, that was a good Bill. It's not that he lost points of performance or material. He simply faced a guy who was just on one that night. But I love Bill's first versus Nitty. I think his third is pretty decent. And then Rose isn't good footage, but he did win the Rosenberg battle. It is a grudge match and clearly handled the situation a little better than his opposition. Shout out to Bill at 5. Suge at 4. Clearly the one that to talk about because it's the most controversial to many. I know that Suge campaigned very hard. Suge was the favorite in many people's eyes, although, on the fan vote, he was one of the top 2 voted, wasn't number 1, but was one of the top 2. And yeah, there was a lot of, people talk about he's at 6. People talk about then there's people that got him at 2 or 3. I personally had Suge at 5 when I walked into the room. I gained more respect for Suge's years that went on, even though the strength of schedule wasn't great. Something that I always say with Impact, because when people bring up Impact, I'm like, it is only one of 6 categories. So someone could have the greatest impact, but you got to look at more. And on the flip side of that, yes, I wasn't the biggest fan of Suge's strength of schedule going in, as I know many weren't, but you got to look at all 6 pieces of criteria. And not only as the panel was coming up, but as you can see on the panel, I'm putting more and more respect on Suge as we go. And even at the 4 spot, him and Easy were really, I believe, at a 3-3 locking criteria. I could be wrong. Maybe Easy got the 4-2 edge, but and we went right to a vote. I can't remember right now, but I do know that it was close. As were all these debates, I had Suge tied in criteria with Tay-Rock 3-3. I had him tied with Rum Nitty 3-3. So there just has to be that little separating factor. And what it comes down to is, once it's tied 3-3 on criteria, you really just have to go with what you personally value a little more. And when I look at the guys that are above Suge, really all it comes down to is consistency and material. For me, those are, if I had to pick, once the categories are tied, what do I think are the most important ones? I really think material is important. Your raps and the consistency that you are rapping great at. Suge, similar to Swamp, had those 3 chokes somewhat towards the beginning of the year that these guys don't really have that same blemish. And while Suge had great material, really it damn near comes down to preference at that point. I can't be mad at anyone that had Suge 3 or 2, maybe even 1. But I did think the guys above him, I just preferred that material a little bit more. I thought it was a little better, and that's why I had them edging over Suge, but it really was a toss-up at that point. And then the list closes out here with Easy the Block Captain at 3. Simply put, I just think he's rapping some of the best material in the world right now. He's just rapping at the highest rate. Definitely loses strength of schedule to a few people. I know it's Suge. Neither of them have the best strength of schedule, so you got to really, argue it out there. It's pretty debatable, but he did have Cal and Goods, who I thought were great opponents. I mean, Cal and SM is almost as difficult as it gets. People had not cleared Goods to the level that he had. You know what I'm saying? I did have some people beating Goods, and I don't think Goods is some unbeatable force, but I do think that is a good win. And although Verb and Big T aren't the best strength of schedule, I think his best material of the entire year was against those 2. So it's either he's beating a good opponent at like 80%, or if he is facing low comp, he's covering the spread. If he's supposed to win 3-0, he's winning 3-0 disgustingly, and it is some of the best material, if not the best material on the card. So Easy at 3, personally just think he's rapping so well that he earned that. You get into the top 2 here, and to us, it got wrapped up pretty quick. Some people were shocked at the winner. Tay-Rock at runner-up, and Rum Nitty as the 2022 champion of the year. Rock's impact and just his work rate was undeniable. Personally had Rock at about 4, you know what I'm saying, when I walked into the room, which some people found crazy in there, and you could just tell by the energy that there was a lot of people that clearly had Rock up, and I had no issue with that. Like I said, 2 to 6 for me coming in was extremely moved around. Even 1, although I was confident with my 1 pick, as many of us were in that room. But Rock had an incredible year, and in my opinion, greatest battle rapper of all time, and I think in a lot of ways he shows that with the Vixen battle that saves the card, with the T-top body that is body of the night on Gnome, as the Gnome main event that was the official Gnome main event, for those of you that don't know how that goes in the books, so that even adds more onus to it. I did think he had smudges with the Slade battle. I didn't think the Snake battle was the best, although I did have him winning the Snake battle. And then the Danny battle, although I had him losing, was a great battle. So you could argue it a few different ways. But, you know, Rock did end up in that final 2. And as for Nitty, I mean, 9-1 for me personally. Wood Swamp being the clear loss, but no bad footage on the year is probably the biggest part for me. No lackluster footage. You can watch any of these Nitty performances, and none of them are bad. They're either good or, for the most part, great. When you look at the A-Ward battle of the year, as well as performance of the year. Bill Collector, extremely great performance, showing clear separation against another top 5 contender who was good in that battle. To me, that Bill Collector win is one of the ones that really pushes it over. To the point that his win over Danny, which was a pretty clear win in the 2nd and 3rd, is like maybe the 3rd or 4th best thing he did. But the funniest part is that a lot of people think, saying, you know, Suge was robbed, this was robbed, really Nitty should have won it. And, you know, at the end of the day, everyone's allowed to have their opinion. I'm never going to get mad at anyone thinking another person should have won. It was a close race. But Rum Nitty did win the fan vote. And I just wanted to put that out there as a piece of information, because although he won 7-2 on the panel, there's some people are painting like, oh, the panel just hijacked. The panel just decided they were power hungry and they were going to come up with knock some shit over. That they were just going to come up with their own answer. He won the fan vote. He could have had, I believe, 3 less votes on the panel, and he still would have won Champion of the Year, if I'm correct. So, you know, I think the fans recognize the work. I think a lot of us did. And while I do think that there is other arguments, I'm not mad at other people thinking others are for COTY. To think that Nitty didn't have a COTY-worthy year, to me, is silly. I had him personally #1 in material and consistency, as well as #2 in strength of schedule, tied with Swamp with the most top 20 contenders on his resume. So shout out, congratulations to Nitty on his 2022 COTY win, and shout out to everybody here that made the list for the top 20 battle rappers of 2022. And that is the end of this little recap here and my kind of thought process behind COTY. You know, if you guys rocked, let me know down below how you guys felt about the list. Just wanted to show respect, detail, and integrity. That's all I want to do, man. I really just love the analytics. So even if the battlers disagree with me, if any of you battlers feel disrespected, I truly do apologize, man. I have the utmost respect for anyone's work, for everyone's work on here, but we have to cover it. We have to order and rank it. I understand that what comes with that is critique for our points, but if we can critique battlers on their work and their raps, they are more than welcome to critique us on how we analyze the game, whether that even be a little bit more on the kind of hostile side. These are guys that are passionate about their craft, so I have the utmost respect for any of them, you know, how they respond to this. But everyone in this list, congratulations to them once again making the top 20. Honor to be here, man. I just hope that for anyone that's new here, I just love battle rap, man. I love covering it in detail on some real, like, you know, first take analytics shit, you know what I'm saying? Shout out Tim Legler. Would love to be that for battle rap one day, but that's for the people to decide. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy to cover this sport that we all love. So like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, let me know on the list down below. Hope that I did a good job, you know what I'm saying, on here, honoring any of my fans on here that have been pushing for me, man. I hope I made some of y'all proud. I know some of you guys have reached out. Thank you to everyone that's reached out to me and shown me love being on the panel. And I hope that as battle rap goes on, man, I could just catch a couple people's more ear and just debate any battle rap with you guys. That's all I'm here to do, is talk the game. And that's the game that we all love. But you know, it's been J Smo Reviews again, y'all. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the list. Shout out to everybody on the 2022 Champion of the Year list, and can't wait to see what goes down in 2023. But I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.